Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Caitanya Caritāmrta class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Srī Caitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, welcome everyone. We are continuing our discussion from Caitanya Caritāmrta. We are on chapter 20, entitled Lord Chaitanya Instructs Sanatana Goswami. In this chapter, we have heard so far how Sanatana Goswami left his government service, was imprisoned by Nawab. Ultimately, he bribed the jailer and escaped from the jail along with his servant Ishan. On the way, they met. They had to cross a hilly tract. The landlord, he had a palmist. He knew that Ishan was carrying 8 gold coins. Ultimately, Sanatana Goswami gave the gold coins to the landlord and he crossed the mountain, sent that hilly tract of Patada, crossed the land, sent Ishan back because he was still having 1 gold coin, reached Hajipur. Hajipur was the place where his brother-in-law would stay, Srikant. Srikant requested, please stay for 2 days. He said, I can't wait even for a moment. Srikant gave him a very valuable, costly woolen blanket. Ultimately, Sanatana Goswami reached Varanasi. He met Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu welcomed him very nicely, embraced Sanatana Goswami, glorified him, and put him under the care of Chandrasekhar. Sanatana Goswami chose to beg and eat madhukari rather than accepting prasad at the house of Chandrasekhar. Ultimately, he exchanged his woolen blanket with an old torn quilt from a beggar because Mahaprabhu was not approving of that. Sanatana Goswami ultimately started inquiring, Srī Caitanya Mahaprabhu, ke ami ke niyamara jarita patra. He asks 4 questions. Who am I? Why am I suffering? What is sadhya? What is sadhan? What is the goal of life? What is the way to achieve it? Srī Caitanya Mahaprabhu started describing. First of all, he glorifies Sanatana Goswami. He says, you know all these answers. But just to make yourself strict, Dadhya lagi. Dadhya lagi means just for the sake of strictness, you are asking me all these questions. Mahaprabhu started describing answers to the first and second question. We are not this body, we are soul, the living entity, Jiva. He is the servant of the Lord. Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nityadas. The famous verse comes here. Krishnera Tatastha Shakti Bheda Abheda Prakash. He describes Krishna has 3 types of energies: Chit Shakti, Jiva Shakti, and Maya Shakti. He describes the characteristics of Jiva and describes about sadhana, and last time we had completed till verse number 122, it seems. So in this section, from verse number 120, Srī Caitanya Mahaprabhu is describing the sadhya and the sadhan. He is describing answers to third and fourth question. He describes Sadhu Shastra Kripa Yadi Krishnonmukha Hoy Se Jiva Nistare Maya Tahare Chade. Sadhu Shastra Kripa, by the mercy of the saintly people and by reading scriptures, if somebody turns towards Krishna, then Maya releases him out of her clutches. And he quotes, Mahaprabhu quotes, Daivhi Hesha Gunamai Mam Maya Duratyaya. Only by surrendering to Krishna, Mameva Prapatyante, one can be free from the clutches of Maya. And other famous words, Maya Mukta Jiver Nahi Swata Krishna Gyan Jivera Kripaye Koila Krishna Veda Puran. Maya's business is to keep the conditioned soul forgetful of his relationship of the Supreme Lord. Nahi Sata Krishna Gyan. He forgets that I am not this body, I am spirit, soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and then he starts thinking I am the enjoyer. Yaya sammohito jivo trigunam trigunaatmakam paropi manute anartham tat kritam chami padyate. He starts identifying with the body which is made up of three modes of material nature and thinks that I am not the servant of the Lord, I am the master. And in the course of becoming master, he becomes a servant of lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, and illusion. And he is beaten. He is beaten by material energy. Kama krodhe radasahaya taralati khaye. He is beaten by material energy. Sometimes he is bewildered because of his mental speculation. He starts thinking, I am God. And then Prabhupada writes, Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, he has given scriptures. Jivera kripai koila Krishna Ved Puran. But the problem in current civilization is nobody reads scriptures. People like to read all the materialistic news, but they will never read scriptures. Bhagavatam describes there are two types of scriptures, the materialistic scriptures and the transcendental scriptures. Nayadvachaschitra padam hareryasho jagat pavitram praganita karhichit tadavayasam tirthamushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramantu sikshaya. The scriptures, the literatures of this material world, they are vayasam tirtham. They are the pilgrimage of crows. It's all full of garbage. Nothing good is there. The swan-like devotees, they never ever enter that place. On the other side, there are literatures. Tadavaga visargo janataga viplavo yasmin prati shlokam abhaddhavatyapi. These literatures, they are written to create revolution in the lives of misdirected civilization. Janataga viplavo. Every word, prati shlokam, even if it is imperfectly composed, still it is glorified by saintly people because they can destroy all the bondage of the material world. Mahaprabhu describes that Krishna, he appears in three forms for the welfare of the living entities. Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Janan. Shastra Guru Atma Rupe. Krishna, he reveals himself through three personalities, three ways: through scriptures, through spiritual master, and as Paramatma. Krishna is there as Paramatma in everyone's heart. Apanare Janan. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna. So we have to understand that Krishna is very, very actively working. He is gravely working. As Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami, we heard in the last classes, When Sanatana Goswami reached, when Rupa Goswami reached Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu told Rupa Goswami, you are, in that most horrible, hellish situation. Now you have become freed from that hellish situation. Actually, he told Sanatana Goswami only because Sanatana Goswami was in jail. And there Mahaprabhu says, Krishna is working very gravely to protect his devotees. Kripara Samudra Krishna Gambhira Apar. Krishna is working really gravely. Gambhira Apar. So Krishna appears in the form of scriptures. Krishna appears in the form of spiritual master. And is very actively guiding every living entity as Paramatma. But the problem is, the living entities, they never hear the voice of Paramatma. They never hear the voice of the Lord coming from within because our mind is speaking so loudly. Mind is shouting, screaming at the top of his lungs. And therefore we can't hear the good advice of Krishna, who is speaking as Paramatma inside every living entity. Guru, Shastra Guru, Atma Rupe Apanare Janan. And through these, a living entity can understand that Krishna is a Supreme Personality and Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Hoy Gyan. Krishna is my master. Krishna Mora Prabhu, Mora Trata. Trata means he is my deliverer. Nobody else is my deliverer. Only Krishna can deliver a living entity from the bondage of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge about his constitutional position. One can come out of this illusion. So it is our responsibility to take help of these three things which are given to us. Shastra, Guru, Atma. We have to learn to hear the voice of Paramatma. We have to take shelter of scriptures. We have to take shelter of the spiritual masters and the great devotees of the Lord. They are only there to help us go back to spiritual world. Krishna is always speaking as it is described in Bhagavatam. One can never one can never express his gratitude sufficiently for whatever the Lord is doing for a living entity. Naivopayantyapachitiam kavayastabesha brahmayusha pikritamruddhamudam smarantah. Naiva upayanti apachitim, one can never express his gratitude sufficiently, even if somebody is a great kavi, kavayastavesha, Brahma Ayusha, even if somebody gets the life of Brahma. What Lord is doing? Antarbahisthanuvritam ashubham vidunvan acharya chaitya vapusha swagatim vyanakti. From inside, he is active as Chaitya Guru. And from outside, he is active as the spiritual master, Paramatma and Guru. Antarbahisthanuvritam ashubham vidunvan, and he's removing all the contaminations from the heart of a living entity or a devotee. All the ashubha. A living entity in this world is completely unfortunate. Nothing auspiciousness is there in the life of a living entity in this material world. Unless one connects to Krishna, there can be no auspiciousness in this world. Mandanam lokaranjanam, it is like decoration of a dead body. Bhagavad bhakti hinasya jati shastra japa tapa apranasyeva dehasya mandanam lokaranjanam. If somebody is not practicing bhakti, if somebody is not connecting to the Lord, whatever else one does, jati, shastra, jap, tap, if it is not for Krishna, it is all waste. It is like decoration of a dead body. So Krishna is really working hard, and we have to understand and acknowledge his presence in our heart. We have to acknowledge his presence in the scriptures, in spiritual masters. Krishna mora trata Prabhu jivera hoye gyan. And if one understands that Krishna is my deliverer, Krishna is my master, then one will acquire real knowledge. Prabhupada writes, being forgetful of his real constitutional position, a living entity, a conditioned soul may take help of Shastra, Guru, and Super Soul. As Shaktiavesh avatar, Vyasadeva has given all these scriptures for what? So that ultimately, Vedesha Sarvai Rahameva Vidyo, ultimately, Krishna is to be known through the Vedas. Prabhupada writes, when this original Krishna consciousness is revived, then the soul is delivered. And in this whole journey of a soul in this material world, he's always helped by Krishna. He's always guiding. Krishna is guiding in three ways. He sends scriptures, he sends spiritual master, and he is active as super soul. Actively, always giving guidance. Do this, don't do this. Hear this person, he's speaking something good. Lord is a deliverer. Lord is a master. So the more we realize this, the more we take shelter of these three things, the more one will be freed from the clutches of the material existence. Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, Prabhupada writes these three things also. They are representatives of Krishna, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Then Mahaprabhu starts describing Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. Veda Shastre kohe Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. Krishna Prapya Sambandha Bhakti Praptyera Sadhan. All the Vedic scriptures, they describe three things. Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. What is our eternal relationship with Krishna? That is Sambandha. Abhideya. Abhideya means what is the process to develop that relationship again? We have broken that relationship. And what is the Prayojan? Returning home back to Godhead, the ultimate goal of life. That is Prayojan. Abhideya Nama Bhakti Prema Prayojan Purushartha Shiromani Prema Mahadan. Abhideya, what is Abhideya? He says Krishna, to know Krishna, to develop relation with, to understand our relationship with Krishna, that is Sambandha Gyan. Then what is Abhideya? That is Bhakti. The process. Abhideya Nam Bhakti. And what is Prayojan? That is Prema, to develop love for Krishna. And Prema, it is Purushartha Shiromani, it is Pancham Purushartha. It is the highest achievement for any living entity in this entire material universe. Prema. That's what Mahaprabhu would always describe. That Krishna, Aradhya Bhagavan, Brajesha Tanaya, Tadhama Brindavanam, Ramya Kajit Upasana, Brajavadu Vargenaya Kalpita, Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam, Prema Pumartho Maha. What is the highest Purushartha? Prema Pumarthama. Where it is mentioned in Bhagavatam. The highest devotees are gopis, highest abode is Vrindavan, the Supreme Lord is Krishna. And to achieve that love of God is the highest Purushartha. That is Pancham Purushartha. That is Purushartha Shiromani. Of all the various types of wealths one can achieve in this world, this is Mahadhan. This is the highest wealth one can achieve in this material world. Nothing else. Nothing else comes close to this Mahadhan. All our endeavors in this material world should bring us to this understanding. I want to achieve this Mahadhan. Apart from that, everything else is waste. Useless endeavor. If this is not achieved, what is the use of all this? Tasyeva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad brahmatamu paryadaha. Don't endeavor for things of this world. Endeavor for that which is not available in all the 14 planetary systems, that is the chance to love Krishna. Nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparayada. Even if you travel all the 14 planetary systems, you cannot achieve Krishna. Endeavor for that end. Endeavor to achieve the lotus feet of Krishna. Tat prayaso na kartavyo yatha ayu vayaparam na tatha vindate shemam mukunda charanambujam. Endeavor to achieve the lotus feet of Krishna, that is the Mahadhan. All the other wealths of this world, they are like broken pieces of glass. Purushartha Shiromani Mahadhan is love of God. Prema Pumartha Mahan. Prabhupada writes, the conditioned soul is bewildered by external energy because he tries to engage in sense gratification. Giving up Krishna's service, tries to enjoy independently. But Krishna, he's the Supreme Father. Pitahamasya Jagato Mata Dhata. He wants everyone to be back. And therefore he comes as super soul. He comes as scriptures. He comes as spiritual master. And he's trying to revive that knowledge again. He is working hard. And he expects that we also work hard to develop that relationship again. All the scriptures are meant for that only. Vedaisha sarvai rahameva vedyo. And therefore Prabhupada writes, it is the best interest of the living entity to develop relation with Krishna. Unfortunately, living entities, they don't know what is their real benefit. Na te vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu durashayaye bhairarthamaninaha. Na te vidu, living entities, they don't know swartha, what is their highest welfare activity. What is their highest welfare activity? Vishnu. To achieve the lotus feet of Lord is the highest. Or what are they doing? Durashayaye bhairarthamanina. They are taking false shelter. They are taking shelter of the material energy. The more one studies scriptures, he develops that sambandha gyan. I am not this body, I am soul, I am supposed to serve Krishna, I am part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna madhurya sevananda praptira karan, Krishna seva kore ara Krishna rasa aswadan. He says, Krishna madhurya sevananda prapti. When one achieves the transcendental bliss of serving Krishna, of relationship with Krishna, when one develops relationship with Krishna, then what is the next step? Krishna seva kare. After developing a relationship, what we are supposed to do? That is the natural outcome, Krishna seva. I want to serve you, my Lord. Krishna seva kare, Hara Krishna rasa aswadan. And then he tastes the mellows of Krishna consciousness. Krishna rasa aswadan. The more one develops relation with Krishna, the more one likes to serve Krishna. Because the joy of service is unimaginable. Krishna das abhimani anand sindhu koti brahma sukha nahi tare eka bindu. The joy of becoming servant cannot be compared to Brahmananda into millions of times. Koti brahma sukha. It is not even a drop of Bhaktiananda. Natural outcome of a devotee is service. Otherwise, what a devotee will do with liberation? A devotee is not interested in liberation. Salokya, sarishti, samipya, sarupya, ekattvamapyuta, diyamanam nagrahananti, vinamat sevanam. Seva is not there. Devotee doesn't want liberation. So this joy of service is unlimited times greater than Brahma Sukha. So much so that Krishna himself wants to become a devotee and experience that joy. That's why he appears. Saukyam chasya madanubhavata kidrisho ve tilobhat what is the bliss which Radharani is experiencing in serving me? Tad bhavadya samajani shachigarbha sindhu harindu. To experience that joy, he comes taking the mood of Srimati Radharani because she is the best devotee. So naturally, when one develops relation with Krishna, Krishna Madhurya Sevananda, when one attains the bliss of relationship with Krishna, Krishna Seva Kare, Hare Krishna Rasaswadan. So that is the beauty of Avidheya. That is the beauty of Sambandha Gyan. The Sambandha Gyan is so wonderful. Naturally wants to do bhakti or service, that is Abhideya, and experiences that bliss, Krishna Rasaswadan. Then, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to explain this Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan, he describes a parable, a story. Very, very wonderful story. He describes there was a person. One time a learned astrologer came to the house of this person. And this person was looking very sad and distressed. So this astrologer asked him, "What happened? Why are you looking so sad? Is there some problem? Why you are not so happy? There must be some problem you are going through." Prabhupada writes, sometimes we go to astrologer or palmist to find out why I am in distressed situation. Or sometimes one goes to astrologer to find what is my future. Because a living entity by nature wants to be aware of the situation. Chit, Sat Chit. You want to know why I am going through all this. That is a natural inclination of an intelligent living entity, inquisitive about his position. Keami, ke niyamare Caritāmrta. Prabhupada writes that is Brahma Jigyasa. And when this starts, Brahma Jigyasa, then one consults Vedic literatures. Then one starts consulting, okay, I should find out in Vedic scriptures why I am suffering, because nobody else can tell me why I am suffering. So this astrologer, he continues, he says, why are you unhappy? Your father was very wealthy, but he himself tells, astrologer himself tells, your father was very wealthy, but he did not disclose his wealth to you and he left in an unknown place elsewhere. So although you inherited a very great treasure, but you don't know where it is. Mahaprabhu continues. Just as the words of this astrologer, his name was Sarvagya, he revealed his relationship with his treasure. He told him Sambandha Gyan, his knowledge, his relation, you have a wealth. Similarly, the Vedic literatures, they advise that our real treasure is Krishna consciousness. Apart from Krishna, everything is all useless. Yasyakhilamīva habhi sumangalai vacho vimishra gunakarma janmabhi prananti shumbanti punanti vaijagathyastad virakta shavashobha namati. Krishna's name, form, pastimes, they are so powerful, they can destroy all the sins. Akhila Amiva Habi Sumangalai, all the Sumangalta is created, all the sins are destroyed. The name, fame, pastimes of the Lord, they enliven the world, they animate the world, they purify the world. If these things are not there, it is Shava Shobhana, decoration of a dead body. What is the use? Everything is useless if Krishna is not there. Aradhito yadhi hari tapasa tatha kim, naradhito yadhi hari tapasa tatha kim. If we are worshipping Krishna, what is the use of tapasya? And if we are not worshipping Krishna, what is the use of tapasya? Antarbahir hare tapasa tata kim? Nantarbahir hare tapasa tata kim? If we are seeing Krishna inside and outside, what is the use of tapasya? And if we are not seeing Krishna inside and outside, what's the use of Krishna? What is the use of tapasya? If we are not seeing Krishna inside and outside, what's the use of tapasya? If you are seeing, then what's the use of tapasya? So basically, if Krishna is not there in any of our activity, it is all useless. So the Vedic scriptures, they advise that our Krishna consciousness is our greatest treasure. And we should know about that treasure. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kopunoe. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema is there in the heart of every living entity. So we should try to revive that. So these words of astrologer, they established the connection. Poor man's connection with his treasure. Similarly, the words of scriptures, they establish our connection with Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada writes, Krishna, he knows everything. Vedam samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani nam mam tu vedana kashana. Krishna knows past, present, and future. And he knows our problems also. He knows all our distresses. He is Suridam and he is ready to help us. But the problem is, we don't turn to Krishna. He is Suridam Sarva Bhutana, but we don't take shelter of Krishna. The more we take shelter of Krishna, the more we revive our relationship with Krishna, our distress will be mitigated. Tapat trayon moolanam, as Bhagavatam says. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, everyone is trying to solve the distress, but they don't know the right way. What's the right way? That is the process of devotional service. That is abhidheya. This astrologer told him, although being assured of his father's treasure, the man cannot acquire the treasure on his own. He has to be informed by some expert. So the astrologer informed him the means to get this wealth. We cannot on our own get this love of God. We cannot develop our relationship with Krishna on our own. We need devotees, we need guru in our life. So this astrologer, he started describing where to find this treasure. And wonderful explanation he is giving. Astrologer said, if you dig on the western side, on the southern side, if you dig on the southern side, you will find some wasps and drones. They will come and they'll start biting you. You will not get the treasure. If you dig on the western side, you'll find a ghost. And this ghost will create all the disturbances for you. You will not be able to even touch that treasure. If you dig on the northern side, you'll find a big black snake that will devour you. If you even attempt to dig that treasure, the snake will devour you. And if you dig on the eastern side, little bit, very easily you will find the treasure. Immediately your hands will touch the treasure. What is this western side, southern side, northern side, and eastern side? Srila Prabhupada describes, he says, according to the position of different conditioned living entities, there are different processes recommended. There is Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, Ashtanga Yoga, and Bhakti. So Karma Kand, it is compared to wasps and drones. And they simply bite if one takes shelter of them. How does it happen? Prabhupada will describe. This Jnana Kand is like a ghost. All the speculative tendencies, they are like the ghost. They create all the disturbances, mental disturbances, all the mental speculation. And this yoga, it is like a black snake that devours us. One tries to become one with the Lord. This impersonal jnana, kaivalya jnana, it is like a big black snake, devours our desire to practice bhakti. And this bhakti yoga, that is the eastern direction. One can quickly become successful. It is the quickest path. Prabhupada writes, the goal of all scriptures is to serve Krishna, to achieve Krishna. Vedesha sarvair aham eva vedyaha. By bhakti only one can know Krishna. Bhaktya mama bijanati. Not by karma, not by jnana, not by yoga. Nothing else can touch Krishna. Only bhakti can reach Krishna. Prabhupada quotes Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who describes in detail about these eastern, southern, western, and the northern areas. The eastern area represents devotional service to Krishna. One can easily attain the life's real goal, the treasure, by practicing devotional service. Nothing else can help one achieve that real treasure, which is our real wealth. Prema. Prema ratana bina daridra jivan dasapuri vetan more deho prema dhan. This prema ratan, this is the greatest wealth of a living entity. Apart from this, everything else is waste. It is useless waste of labor. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, we should understand what we should expect. By coming to Krishna consciousness, what we should expect. What type of wealth should we expect? What type of currency of our salary we should expect? Because all of us, when we work, we want some salary. In this process of Krishna consciousness, we are working. What is the salary we are getting? And what is the currency of that salary? If somebody doesn't know that this is the salary and he thinks this is useless, I wanted, some notes or some dollars, and he's giving me some metal or something. He doesn't understand it is gold. Ekantalabam vachasonupamsam sushlokamole gunavadamahu Shrutesha vidvadbhirupakritayam katha sudhayam upasamprayogam. There is only ekanta, the only labha, only benefit one should expect is sushlokamole gunavadamahu, the chance to glorify Krishna. This is ordained by greatest of the devotees in the past. Vidvadbhirupakritayam, chance to glorify Krishna, chance to hear about the glories of Krishna, that is the greatest wealth, by which one can easily achieve Krishna, easily achieve the life's real goal. Otherwise, the southern side, which is like karma kand, material gain, it is like wasp and drones. Why? Because if anybody engages in a fruitive activity, naturally one will be punished by Yamaraj. Because any activity of this world has sin involved in it. One cannot escape sin in this material world. The fifth canto, last chapter, describes in detail what types of hells are waiting for people of this material world. There is a hell for people who don't welcome the guests properly. If a guest comes and they stare at the guest thinking why they have come, there is a hell waiting for them. So it is very, very scary. The desire to enjoy the things of the world subjects one to punishment of Yamraj. And another problem is the material desires, they remain more and more prominent. They become prominent, then they stay. They never go. They become more pronounced. And the more one enjoys, the more one suffers. The cycle of birth and death never ends. It is like being bitten by the wasps and the drones. That is southern side. The northern side represents mystic yoga, which is like a black snake. And the mystic yoga tells that, oh, you can merge in Brahman. It is like a poison. It is like a snake biting and injecting his poison. This desire to become one with the Lord, that is like poison. And for a devotee, he never ever even thinks of that. Kaivalyam narakayate. It is like hell for a devotee. There's a conversation which goes on between a devotee and Maya Devi and Mukti Devi. Devotee is doing his bhajan, eyes closed. Mukti Devi comes, stands in front with folded hands. The devotee understands somebody is there. He opens his eyes, sees the lady standing in front. He asks, Katum, who are you? She says, Mukti Rupagadasmi Bhakti. I am Mukti Devi. I have come to serve you. Kasmad Akasmadiha. How come suddenly you have come? I didn't call you. She says, Tvam Krishna Deva Smaranena Bhavato Dasi Padam Prapita. Are you are remembering Krishna? I have become your Dasi. That is natural outcome. This devotee becomes angry. Dure Tishta Managanagasi. Oh, abominable one, stay away. So Mukti Devi is surprised, shocked. Katham Kurya Dhanari Ammai. Hey, what wrong I have done? I have come to serve you and you are giving me bad words. This devotee says, Tvat Gandha Nija Nama Chandan Rasale Pasya Loko Bhavet. Just by your fragrance, my desire to serve Krishna will go away. So that's how for a devotee, this northern side of mystic yoga, it is like black snake. It is suicidal. And then Prabhupada quotes this. Yanya Arvindaksha Vimuktamanina Toyastabhava Vishuddha Buddhaya Aruhya Krichrena Parampadam Tata Patantiyada. These people, they may become sannyasis and they think that they are liberated, but they are not liberated because they have not taken shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Arvindaksha Vimukta Manina. They have not taken shelter of lotus feet of Krishna. Anadriti Yushmadangaraya. They don't respect Krishna's form. They don't take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Again, they fall down and they engage in all the philanthropic activities of this world. And the western side represents Gyan, this process of mental speculation. It is like that ghost, the Yaksha. And this Yaksha, he will not allow one to experience the wealth of bhakti. The more the mind is engaged in mental speculation, always doubting, then one will never experience the joy of bhakti. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Agyascha Ashraddhanascha Samshayatma Vinashyati. ignorant, faithless, and doubtful. Amongst these, the doubtful people, they are the worst. Because they can never get the chance to practice bhakti. They'll always doubt. They'll always speculate something. So Prabhupada writes, a devotee will not depend on material resources. He will depend on the mercy of the Lord. That is the shelter of a devotee. Because he understands that Krishna will protect me. Avashya rakshibe Krishna iti vishwasa palan. Rakshishyati iti vishwasa. That is a devotee's understanding. So devotional service to Krishna is a real treasure for a devotee. And we should try to endeavor to get that wealth. Because this is the only thing which satisfies Krishna. Nothing else satisfies Krishna. Aishe Shastra kahe karma jnana yoga tyaji bhakti Krishna vash hoye bhakte ra tare bhaji. So the revealed scriptures conclude that one should give up karma, jnana, yoga, because only Krishna, only bhakti can satisfy Krishna. Krishna, bhakti Krishna vasha hai. Bhakti satisfies Krishna and Krishna is controlled by his devotees. Aham bhakta paradhino. I am controlled by my devotees. Krishna is telling to Durvasa. Mahaprabhu quotes few verses from Bhagavatam. How bhakti satisfies Krishna, nothing else. Krishna is telling to Uddhava, 11th canto. न साधयति माम योगो न सांख्यम धर्मोद्धव न स्वाध्यायस्तपोत्यागो यथा भक्तिर्ममोर्जिता. O Uddhava, my dear Uddhava, na sadhayati mam, one cannot achieve me by yoga. One cannot achieve me by practice of Sankhya. One cannot achieve me by studying scriptures or by doing tapasya. One can only achieve me and satisfy me. Na sadhayati, nothing else. All these things, they don't satisfy me. Then what satisfies you? Bhaktir mamorjita. Only devotional service satisfies me. Nothing else satisfies me as much as bhakti. Okay, a little bit I may be satisfied by karmis, jnanis, yogis, but bhakti satisfies me completely. Bhaktyaham ekaya grahyah shraddhayatma priyah satam. Another verse, next verse, Krishna is telling to Uddhava, he says, being very dear to the devotees and the sadhus, I am attained through unflinching faith and devotional service. Shraddhayatma priya. This bhakti is very dear to sadhus and devotees. And I can be achieved only by that devotion. Bhakti punati mannishta shvapakan api sambhavat. And bhakti increases attachment for me. And even shvapakan, even if a person is born in a low-class family, he can be elevated to the highest by the practice of devotional service. Therefore, Ataiva Bhakti Krishna Praptera Upaye Abhideya Bolitare Sarva Shastre Gai. Therefore, Bhakti is Krishna Praptera Upaye. There is only one means to achieve Krishna, that is devotional service. And all the scriptures, they glorify this Bhakti as Abhideya. Only Bhakti can achieve Krishna, can help one achieve Krishna. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yashasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. Nothing else. Only by the practice of devotional service. Prabhupada writes, although the Shastras, they describe different methods for different people, but Krishna is telling here ultimately one has to accept bhakti only. Nothing else reaches him. And then he describes about prayojan. What is prem? What is prayojan? That is prema. He says, just like he gives an example. When one becomes rich, one naturally enjoys all kinds of happiness. He doesn't have to do anything extra. Rich means naturally happiness will come. He will be, when one is actually in happy mood, all the distressful situation is destroyed. Happiness and distress can't stay together. If somebody is happy, he will not be in distress. If somebody is rich, he can enjoy all kinds of happiness. Similarly, as a result of bhakti, the dormant love of Krishna awakens. One does not have to do any extra endeavor to develop love. Naturally, one develops love for Krishna, and when he is situated in that way, he can taste the sweetness of Krishna. That is the level of bhava and prema. When the sweetness of Krishna is experienced by that devotee, and then naturally birth and death comes to an end. That is a natural outcome. That liberation is secondary byproduct. Daridranasha bhavakshay prema phalanay prema sukha bhoga mukhya prayojana hoy. He says, Daridranash and bhavakshay, mitigation of this material existence and becoming rich, opulent. These are not the goals of prema. These are the results of prema. Then what is the result of prema phal? Prema sukha bhoga. The main goal of which one achieves by the practice of devotional service is the devotional service to the Lord and the bliss, the transcendental bliss which he experiences. That is the real goal of devotional service. Real goal is be situated in service of the Lord and to experience the transcendental bliss. Prabhupada writes in the purport, everybody in this world is suffering. And why one is suffering? It is like a person who is poverty stricken. He suffers. Can't get proper food. Can't get anything to enjoy. Because we have forgotten Krishna, we are suffering in this material world. And one achieves liberation by practice of devotional service. One naturally enjoys. The devotional service to Krishna is all blissful. Susukham kartum abhyam sandrananda visheshatma. That is a natural outcome. One does not have to endeavor separately for opulence. Opulence naturally comes to a devotee, although a devotee doesn't want opulence. Opulence comes naturally. Veda Shastre ko hai sambandha videya prayojan. Krishna, Krishna, Bhakti, Prem, Tina, Mahadan. Now Mahaprabhu is summarizing all this Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan. All the Vedas, all the scriptures, what they say, three things. Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojan. Krishna is the central point of attraction. Bhakti is the way to achieve that service. And Prayojan means platform of love for Krishna. And what are the three greatest riches in the life of a devotee? Krishna, Krishna Bhakti, and Prema. These are the three greatest riches. Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojan. Sambandha is Krishna, relationship with Krishna. Abhideya is Krishna Bhakti, and Prayojan is Prema. These are the three greatest riches in the life of a devotee. Nothing else equals to this. These are teen Mahadhan, they are the greatest treasure. So that's how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he summarizes Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojan. We'll continue the next class. Mahaprabhu describing the ultimate purpose of all the scriptures. Hare Krishna. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय। श्री कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी की जय।